Hi, welcome back to another Geek Lunch Beat. I'm your host as usual, Chris, bringing you the weekly news and reviews on films, TV, comic books, toys, video games, and anything else I fancy talking about. Really, if you could hit like and subscribe, that'd be fantastic and really help the channel out. If you haven't already, obviously this week's big news was Matrix Resurrections, where the trailer dropped, and yeah, it's the Matrix, so it asks more questions than it answers. In a gist, I mentioned, I think, in a previous episode that the footage that had been described seemed like that they were going for almost a soft reboot, even though it is apparently a direct sequel to the original trilogy. It looks like they are doing that sort of Force Awakens thing where to maybe to bring in new viewers. It's almost like a rehash of the first film. I said the trailer absolutely sort of doubles down on that point. It could, of course, be a ruse. I mean, we've had trailers before, famously the Marvel's Avengers Endgame trailer deliberately only showed you, was it 99% of the footage in the trailer was from like the first 10 minutes of the film, as not to give anything else away. So it could, of course, be the fact that maybe all of this stuff, a lot of the stuff they're showing us in the trailer, obviously there's a lot more to it, and it's not just a rehash. But I mean, we basically, the trailer starts, we've got Doogie Howser himself, Neil Patrick Harris, back in the doctor's chair as a Neo's therapist, it appears, or Thomas Anderson, as obviously he seems to have gone back to. Keanu Reeves now sporting his John Wick hair and beard still. And obviously there's a lot of the imagery of the red and the blue pills. It looks like he's taking blue pills to either suppress memories or to keep him in this trance-like state, as a lot of other people that he sees are doing the same thing. But we know obviously he's going to take a red pill at some point, and in this instance, again, same as in the first film, we have what appears to be Morpheus, but that's another mystery, is that it's not Laurence Fishburne. It's if I can get his name correct, um, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. To all intents and purposes, appears to be playing Morpheus. Laurence Fishburne was quoted a while back as saying that he didn't know why they hadn't asked him back. Again, it could just be random theory, but maybe they're keeping that a secret, and maybe it turns out at the end that suddenly Larry Fishburne turns up as the real Morpheus. Who knows? Or maybe just it could just be him say that this is a young Morpheus. Obviously, we had in the second film the sort of very pretentious, drawn out architect scene where he told Neo that there had been lots of different iterations of the Matrix, and the one going through and sort of failing every time, and they kept rebooting and resetting. This could be, say, a different iteration of the Matrix. This could be one of the earlier versions, but I don't know. It seems unlikely to me, but yeah. So it's one of those things. So the imagery is fantastic. I mean, obviously, I say Keanu's back, Carrie Ann Moss is back. We see her. They meet up. She says, have we met before? So she's obviously doesn't remember, which obviously then obviously even bigger question is, obviously we saw her die. Obviously Trinity, multiple large bits of metal shoved straight through her, and then obviously Neo we saw die, sort of. I mean, the machines took him away, and there was bright light and stuff. But obviously in these type of science fiction films, they could have cloned him. Maybe he wasn't dead. They sent little nanobots into him and kept his body alive and plugged him back into the Matrix. Who knows? They're shots of Zion, so we do still see the real world. We see all the bodies again stacked up inside the pods, all plugged into the Matrix. Yeah, I mean, some great action scenes. I mean, for as much as the Matrix sequels didn't live up to the first one, they have got some good. The freeway chase for a star in the second one. There are some good action scenes in them, and this looks to be no different. And then it all gets very meta at the end, and we've got who is it? Jonathan Groff, I think his name is. Yeah, who was in Hamilton as King George, and Christoph from Frozen. He again he looks like another therapist, or maybe he could even be another reincarnation or a different iteration of the architect, as he literally says to Neo and basically us viewing as the audience, it's time to go back to the Matrix. Cue all the digital rain coming down and the traditional Matrixy soundtrack. And yeah, December the 22nd, I think that is cinema here in the UK. In the States, it's going to is it HBO Max as well. If you've got a subscription to that, you can watch it on there. I think probably the last one of Warner's films this year that's doing that, and then it'll all be cinema releases. Especially, I think Shang-Chi did very well at the box office last week, so I think stuff going back exclusively to cinemas looks like the way forward. So yeah, Matrix Resurrections. Lana Wachowski this time, she's dropped her sister, is it Lily? So just the one of them. We'll see how it goes. At the very least, it looks like we'll get a reboot of the first film with some good action scenes. Whether that'll be enough or not, or maybe maybe I'm putting the wool over our eyes, and there's going to be something massive and huge, and we all stare at the screen and wonder like we did back in 1999. I remember watching the first film, and obviously no one knew anything about it. The marketing campaign kept it all very just what is the Matrix, and no one really knew. Obviously the hype was on the Phantom Menace that year, and the Matrix just slipped under the radar. And yeah, I remember sitting there in a cinema and just that moment where Neo is unplugged and wakes up and thinking, what the hell was going on here? As you could pretty much, the whole audience was sort of stunned in silence. I think people forget how such a sort of big pivotal moment in science fiction films the Matrix was. But yeah, so hopefully, I'm hoping. I know the two sequels weren't great, but yeah, I hope we get something like the original Matrix here. So we will see. What else have we got? There was a final trailer for Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's new film. I think that comes out October the 22nd, 26th, something like that. He's steered away from the comedies we're used to. Obviously, the Cornetto trilogy is fantastic. To me, Hot Fuzz always on rotation in our household. One of the funniest films ever made, in my opinion. This time he looks more. He sort of started heading away from the comedy a bit with Baby Driver, and now this looks much more like a psychological thriller. We've got Thomasine Kenzie as a fashion designer who is having vivid image dreams of London in the 60s, particularly of a up and coming singer, I think played by Anya Taylor Joy, who hopefully we'll see one day as Furiosa in the next Mad Max movie, has been rumored now. And Matt Smith, obviously from Doctor Who, amongst other things, and murders being she witnesses a murders. And then we've got General Zod himself, Terence Stamp, back in the modern day, who I think is possibly playing Matt Smith when he's older. Some great imagery. Edgar Wright's a great visual director, as well as the comedy. I will drop all links to all the trailers as normal in the description below. Check that out. Change of pace for Edgar Wright, but I say he's earned my eyeballs on anything he makes in the from stuff he's done in the past. Another little trailer for Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. It's just a little special going straight to Disney Plus in October the 1st. I think that is in time for Halloween. The Lego Star Wars stuff, all of the Lego sort of stuff, the Jurassic Park stuff as well, is always funny. Be it the shorts or the computer games. They're always just irreverent, funny, little bits of entertainment to tide you over till the next big batch of Star Wars comes, which will be Star Wars Visions, isn't it? It's coming out this month, which we'll get first, and obviously the Book of Boba Fett in December is what we're all waiting for. But yeah, check out the trailer for that. What else we got? A couple of trailers dropped this week from the PlayStation thing they did online, announcing all their latest games, and from Insomniac Games, who bought us the incredible Spider-Man game, is Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. They announced they're working on. I'll put links to both the trailers in the description below. I loved Spider-Man. I'm not a huge gamer. I like playing third-person action-adventure movies. Are the thing that I like, with very story-driven. Which Spider-Man was fantastic, and the whole rendering of New York City and just being able to swing around was fantastic. It was one of the only games after completing the main story, I loved it so much. I went back and did all the side quests and bits and bobs and picking stuff up, which I know a lot of gamers like to 100% and stuff. I usually don't bother once the main story is done, but that one just had so much fun with it. Went back and did all that. Yeah, and we're getting Spider-Man 2, which the trailer shows Venom in as well, which on the point of, if you're interested in the movie version of Venom, which keeps pinballing around, that's coming out 2 weeks early, October the 1st now. Let There Be Carnage. So that's coming out early if you're interested in that. But back to the games, and they just dropped this little teaser for a Wolverine game they're doing, which will be great. I'm sure will be great from the stuff they've done in the past. Obviously, a bit of a different. Obviously, Spidey was just swinging around New York City. Wolverine's obviously not got those sort of powers, and he doesn't have that sort of location that he's sort of tied to as much as Spidey. So presumably it'd be a bit more open. Obviously these games are only in just starting to be worked on, and I think they've said is that Spidey's not coming out till 2023 on the PS5. So hopefully there'll be a larger amount of PS5s available to actually buy. Seems to be hard to get hold of at the moment. Check out the trailers for those. They look awesome. What else have we had this week? That's probably about it. News. Oh, yeah, Harrison Ford, the weekly indie update. He appears, rumor is that he is back from his injury that he's had his surgery and he's recuperated. I think it's been about 10 weeks, I think they said, since he had to stop work. And he was spotted on set in Buckinghamshire somewhere. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Indy 5's back on track. I mean, they were still obviously filming bits and pieces around him without him. So hopefully now they can get back on with principal shooting. If you've not already seen my Indiana Jones 5 special that I dropped last week, check that out. That's got everything we know so far about the production and the rumours of the plot, etc., etc. So yeah, check that out if you want. Marvel's What If Zombies was this week's one, which I loved. That show seems to be going from strength to strength. Check it. It's the Disney Plus. If you're not aware of it, the Disney Plus animated show where they just look at different scenarios if things happen differently in the Marvel universe. And this one is what if Hulk came back to Earth at the beginning of Endgame to find the zombie outbreak had occurred. And everyone was fighting off zombies, and the superheroes were becoming zombies but still retaining their powers. It was good. Lots quite gory in places for a Marvel stuff. Obviously animated, and the blood is black. You can get away with people being ripped apart and just seeing blackness fly everywhere. Good fun. Some ends on a sort of doesn't really finish the story off. So hopefully we might pick up more in season 2 of What If. I believe, like same with the Captain Carter, the very first episode, which also ended similarly. I believe she is returning later on. So hopefully some of these stories that they're doing, maybe the ones that are very popular, maybe they're gauging reaction and we'll get a continuation of those. But yeah, if you're not watching that, check that out. That's about it for this week. So until next time, take care. If you could hit like and subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic and help the channel out. Until next time, eat geek and be merry.